Welcome to Come Heal Yourself with Monica Goyle on OMTimes Radio. Monica is a spiritual counselor and healer with a life purpose to put people in touch with their innate healing abilities, empowering them to live a life full of joy, love, peace, and abundance. Through this show, you'll learn to heal every aspect of your life by connecting to your higher self. And now your host, Monica Goyle.
Namaste listeners, come heal yourself. Hope you are having a blissful day. We have a very special guest with us, Dr. Len Saputo today. He is a medical director of Health Medicine Center at John Muir Medical Center, and he has been there from 1971 until 2004. And he graduated from UC Berkeley and Duke University. And he has combined spirituality to medicine, bringing us deep spiritual healing and the causes of all the health issues that we have. Now we welcome Dr. Len. Hi, Dr. Len.
Hi, Monica. Nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Honored to have you. Thank you so much.
I think we'll have some fun.
We certainly will. We have a lot to learn from you. Looking forward. So, Dr. Len, tell us about yourself. You have been a physician for 40 years. So, what made you an advocate of healing spirituality?
Well, a lot of it is because I've been practicing medicine for such a long time. And I've seen that science and spirituality haven't mixed well. In fact, it was back in the 1600s, really a little before that Descartes brought along science, and then all of a sudden the role of the shaman was thrown out because you can't really study spirituality using scientific tools because they're reductionistic. And what we do is we try to analyze everything by breaking it down, and then when we got the electron microscope, we thought for sure that we'd be able to solve all the problems with illness. But I knew, even when I was in medical school, there was a lot more to healing than there is to than we were taught. And so as a result, I learned what I had to learn because that's what you have to do when you're in medical school. And it took another 10 years of practicing medicine before I remembered that there's this whole thing called spirit, the role of spirit healing. That's huge. And when I remembered that, everything changed, and I could see in my patients that they were not just mechanical patients who you could reduce into pieces, but what they were whole human beings. And you have to look at the whole person if you want to return to wholeness, because that's what the healing process is about. And that involves looking at body, mind, emotion, spirit as a collective thing, and not looking at people as to broken into pieces. It's not just that we're made of pieces like a clock is made. It doesn't work like that. And when I realized that and I started listening to people more and trying to learn about who they were and how our relationship fit together and why they had come to see me rather than somebody else, it became clear that I had to go back to this idea of thinking of us as whole people who are really fitting into a whole universe. So the idea of looking at the oneness of that whole situation stood out in my mind, and then there was no going back. There was no more fix me quick with drugs, surgeries, and technologies. It was about looking at the deepest levels of why we get sick in the first place. And in my mind and in my model, it's always a spiritual issue. And that disease becomes something that is a reflection of our psychospiritual disease. So the things I learned in medical school are great for teaching us how to help people feel better, get them back on their feet and back to work. It's sort of like fix the person, but it's not really fixing the reason for why people get sick. And we need to go back and focus on that. And that's what I always offer my patients now, even though some of them say, look, I came to you because I'm hurting. Yeah. Can you just get rid of my pain, please? And I do know how to do that. And we have some technologies that we use that are rather amazing, that involve lights and magnets that are amazingly powerful. But that's my story for how I learned to come back into this business of wholeness.
So it's very interesting. From the beginning, in your heart, you knew.
Absolutely. I think we all do. Mm-hmm. And then we're taught not to believe that. And it becomes a requirement when we're studying scientific things in school. Because science is thought to be the big deal, the answer to everything. And of course, it's the answer to nothing when we look at understanding the different ways that our body works, mm-hmm. or to learn how the universe works. And when I say we understand nothing, we don't know what light or magnets or gravity or any other energetic force is. We can only describe it. And so the objective then becomes to trust and have faith mm-hmm. that the universe is there to support us and that it's teaching us lessons in life. And when we get into situations in life that are challenging for us, as we all do as we go through the various phases of life, we're on a spiritual journey. It's the return to making us whole again. And our bodies are reflectors of that, so that they go wrong because there's something that's going on at the spiritual level to begin with. And then it moves into the rest of who we are in all of the ways that we look at what human beings are.
That's interesting. But I mean, do you think in any ways your medical background and what you learned about human body has actually helped you more on this path?
Well, it's helped me to learn how to be a traditional Western doctor, a mainstream doctor. So I can treat pneumonia and diabetes and heart disease, but only after the fact. And I don't think that we learned about why people get those things, although we have models that talk about lifestyles being very important. What you eat, exercise, stress, sleep, what you weigh, exposure to environmental toxins, and having a meaningful purpose in your life. And those are good things, but we don't highlight that in medicine. What we highlight in medicine is, here, take this pill, mm-hmm. Which is going to have some side effects, by the way, and we're probably not going to tell you too much about that. And then send you back to live your life with your symptoms gone, but having learned nothing about what really happened to you.
That's so true.
We look at somebody who has an ulcer or a headache or a backache or whatever, and all that we do is look at those symptoms. Yeah. And we do a really good job of that, and I think that in general, most every healthcare system on the planet is oriented that way. It doesn't really look at the spiritual side of things. It doesn't look at the shamanic mm-hmm. healers who are into things. Maybe Ayurveda does that more than some, because it's a whole life system. Yes. But there are, in general, when you go to your doctor, the doctor is not going to be asking you about the spiritual side of your life and what went wrong there. And I don't think it does go wrong, by the way. I think it's just something that if we have a challenge that we need to learn something from, then we get a spiritual lesson by having some kind of problem in our physical body that can be used as a tool so that we can go back and learn from that in a deep spiritual way, not just a physical way.
That's so amazing that, being in the medical field, you have always realized that and integrated that in your treatment, because right now, what I have seen and experienced with so many other people around, like you said, in Western medicine, either you take that pill that is actually just treating that particular symptom and doing nothing else. But But what I have seen is if you have something beyond that or different, it's very hard for Western medicine or Western system of medicine to really identify or, really recognize what that problem is. Like there is a limit to the treatment that it can offer.
Well, that's right. And it's worse than that, actually. Not only do we not teach the role of spirit in healing, we discount it. Mm-hmm. When René Descartes, introduced science to the world, there was no way it could study spirituality. We don't have a way of analyzing spirituality. We know it's there intuitively. Mm-hmm. We feel it. And even our doctors do. They go to church on Sunday, then they go back to work on Monday and say, "Oh, no. We can't do that because that's not what science does." Mm-hmm. But see, science is not so red hot. It's got its problems too. Mm-hmm. I mean, can you really trust what we do in our scientific research? And that answer is definitely not. And it's not me now, so I don't want our listeners to shoot the messenger here, because I'm just reporting what a lot of interesting people have reported. I'll give you some specific examples. Mm-hmm. The New England Journal editor, who was in charge of the whole thing, was a doctor who was managing all the articles that came through. And she quit her job several years ago and started writing articles about how the information that was being published in the New England Journal of Medicine was not scientifically based, and that unfortunately it had the spin of the pharmaceutical industry, which was really paying for most of that research. And of course, they weren't going to just pay for research without getting something back from it. So they twist the numbers around to look like they want it to look. And so a lot of time you can't trust it. And that's what happens. And
wow.
We can come back to this after your break, I guess.
Yes, we'll take a very short break and be right back. Please stay tuned.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Live with medium Lisa Phoenix, Mediumship Messages and Musings, explores mediumship and all things metaphysical. Lisa Phoenix invites you to reach above and beyond your everyday experiences, to explore new dimensions in the spirit world. She will do live readings to connect callers to their loved ones in spirit, shares engaging stories and teachings from her own personal experience, and will have intriguing conversations with other mediums, spiritual teachers, and healers to help you understand the metaphysical world so you can connect to these forces in your day-to-day life. Join your host on this magical and metaphysical journey into the world of spirit every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
The cutting edge of conscious radio OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Welcome back, Dr. Len.
Thank you.
So, we were talking about the research, the paper.
Yes, and the value of it. And again, the numbers that come up here that define how much science there is in medicine is kind of shocking. When that was studied by several different sources, they found that about 15% of what we do in medicine is actually science-based. And you think, well, that's not too bad. At least it's something. But then we look at the research, like the New England Journal of Medicine, Journal of American Medical Association, Journal of Clinical Investigation, the Lancet Medical Journal. The chief editors-in-chief of those journals have said that the amount of science that's coming into their publications is really low. And if I told you that number, it would shock you. Most doctors that you ask say, well, how much good science is there in the New England Journal and JAMA, et cetera? And they'll say, oh, it's probably 95%, maybe 98%, something like that.
Yeah.
And actually, the organizations that studied this and published it came up with a number of 1%.
Wow.
Which is like shocking, and it's hard to believe. So Marcia Angel of the New England Journal, Catherine DeAngelis of JAMA, Ushma Neal of the Journal of Clinical Investigation, all were irritated at what happened, and two of those ladies who are physicians quit their jobs because they couldn't take it anymore. Mm-hmm. So we understand why that's like that, because medicine has become a business rather than a service. And that's what's destroyed it.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah,
it is. And I talk about it in my book in detail. I have a whole chapter called The Karma of Big Pharma, which really lays into what's happened. And everything that I say in that book is based on articles that have come out in the mainstream literature as editorials or as evaluations of what's happening in various aspects of medicine. So I try to keep it documented the best I can, keeping in mind that when an article is written and funded by the pharmaceutical industry or some other technology industry where there's a conflict of interest, we've got a problem. And then you look at what happens with science itself, and the science itself is not that good because we have too many variables. We try to control when we do any kind of study. So it's no surprise when information comes out 1 year that says that you should have a low-fat diet, and 5 years later you come out with the information as a high-fat diet.
Yes.
And so you don't know what to trust. And then you have Big Pharma putting its spin on it. And then you have this quantum physics effect where the observer affects the outcome. All of a sudden, you're in big trouble. And that's why this number of 1% is probably right. So people who say medicine is science-based do not know what they're talking about. They haven't studied it. And I've moved to a place where I have more trust and faith in the role of spirit than I do in science. And so I think the important things for a healer to do, really, there are two things, is to listen and to care. And then to have trust that you're being guided by spirit. Some of your work with angel therapy and being hypnotherapist and looking at past life regressions, these are all things that, in general, people in medicine tend to throw out because they don't understand it.
All right.
If you want to do something that's not scientific, throw something out when you don't understand it, because let's face it, that's how we learn. It's from things that we don't understand. So we should be going back, and if we're going to be scientists, let's at least look at all the things we haven't got worked out, because that's where a lot of the answers are.
That's so true. It's it's really wonderful being a doctor. You haven't lost that spiritual side, but you have explored it and, dived deeper, because I know when any patients with terminal diseases come to me and they tell me, like, they haven't shared with their doctor what they're doing, but their doctor says, keep doing what you are doing because you are doing great.
Yeah.
And I have couple doctors coming to me, but they don't want anyone to know that they are actually Reiki is helping them, or any alternative healing is helping them. It's very interesting.
Yeah, well, there are a lot more things that we know that we don't understand. And just because we don't understand something doesn't mean that it can't be information that's correct. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what we know in science anyway is so limited because we don't know what the energy forms actually are. We know what they do, but we don't know what they are. So we're coming at a very disadvantaged place if we say we're going to be scientists. And then you start talking about maybe the most important thing in anyone's life, which is their spiritual path, and just saying, well, we don't understand it, so we're not going to play. I take all my marbles and go home. Well, that's just silly. We should be open-minded for those things, particularly when we have maybe a spiritual practice of our own, as so many doctors do. Yes. And then try to practice that in the hospital and see what happens. I mean, things like prayer and being and really listening deeply to patients is huge. We started something about 15 or 20 years ago called a Healing Circle. Mm-hmm. It's part of a nonprofit educational foundation that I started in 1994. It's called the Health Medicine Forum.
Yes.
And in it was a way to bring together practitioners of every discipline and allow them to participate in everything that we do so that we can learn more about what they do. And I learned a lot of different things. I moderated about 350 events over the last 25 years. Wow. And from that got a good education about the different forms of healthcare that there are. And what we decided to do was put together groups of practitioners of different disciplines based on the particular patients that we had who weren't doing well. So what we would ask the patients to do is to write an autobiography of their physical, emotional, and spiritual life from birth to now in separate sections. And they might be anywhere from 5 to 100 pages long.
Yeah.
And then I would gather the people who I wanted to be in that healing circle with this patient and share the autobiography with them. And then we meet for 2 hours and we listen and care and try to support that person so they can learn something that they're perhaps missing. That might be helping them move along their spiritual path in a better way. We never charge for that. It's always free.
That's
and
wonderful.
People who are involved with that, the doctors who are of many different disciplines, and the patients who have all kinds of different problems, really get a lot out of it. And I would say most of the time, it changes the course of their life, so they're pointed in a slightly different direction because they're inspired to want to feel better. And they're impressed with the fact that we'll spend 2 hours of our time with them, not charge them for it, read their autobiography before it, put it on a CD so that the whole thing is available to them if they want to go over it again. And we've done hundreds of patients like that. It's been one of the most rewarding things that I've done in my medical practice over the last 40 plus years.
That's so wonderful. I think what patients right now miss most is the connection with the doctor. So when you are establishing that deep connection with your patients, I think that trust and that faith comes that they can be healed.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's being with people that's important. It's not treating a set of symptoms with a bag of tools. Mm-hmm. That may make their symptoms go away, but you're not really doing them a service unless you go deeper. And if you leave out the role of spirit and healing, now you've thrown away the most valuable thing we have, because in my opinion, that's what life is about. It's our spiritual path. Mm-hmm. It's how we learn to share and give and love and build community, which is what we all flourish with. Mm-hmm. And if we can provide people with that, because most people in this dysfunctional world, particularly here in the U.S., where we have families that are not, you get people in their 20s raising precious children and putting them in front of a TV set and feeding them bad food and all kinds of stress, and they're going through divorces and they're abused physically, emotionally, and sexually. Everything. How much more damage can we do? We need to undo all that and teach people that it's not about narcissism. It's not about what you get from people. It's what you give. So that if you focus this on love is about giving unconditionally, receiving graciously, but never for taking. And the best treasures in life are what we give, not what we get.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think just because you're Bill Gates or George Soros and you have billions of dollars that's going to make you happy. I think what makes you happy is connecting with other people and living in community with them and trying to make them be happy rather than trying to be happy yourself is the first thing.
Mm-hmm. And we are totally missing that these days. We are moving further away from us.
Right. Well, the world has become more of an economy, and the U.S. is more of an economy than a democracy now. We have a corporate democracy that's about business and about making money and having wealth and power. And it's at a spiritual level, it's quite the reverse. It's about how much can I give? How much can I make someone happy? How much can I be living a life in service?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the real things. It's not like young love. You know, when you first get married, it's about sex and I feel good and you make me happy and thank you so much. But mature love isn't like that. Mature love is about, gee, I love you, dear, and I want you to be happy. Have this flower here. Let's do what you want today. That's where the action is, and we don't learn that. You know, we go to school and we learn how to be rocket scientists or doctors, and it's what am I going to get back for it? You know, am I going to make a lot of money? Can I buy 2 cars and can I have a boat and another condo? I mean, what kind of a value system is that?
Yeah, that's the primary motivation for work these days. We don't go with what we love to do.
Yeah. It's self-serving and it's narcissistic. And that's okay. I mean, if that's where you are, that's okay. But for heaven's sake, let's teach those people how to go beyond that.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. And we will take just a short break here and be right back. Please stay tuned.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Come heal yourself. What is healing? Healing is nothing but connecting with your all-knowing higher self that already has solutions to all your problems and is always there to guide you. Through this show, we help you to connect with that you are and tap into that innate potential you have to transform your life and fly high. Please join me, your host Monica Goyal, every Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Namaste.
What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram at Joy of Business or Twitter at Joy of Business. And share your pictures with hashtags BusinessDoneWhere and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts, Yelito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland, on Share International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back, everyone. So, Welcome back, Dr. Len.
Thank you.
Yes, so tell us more about the health medicine movement.
Okay, this was something, health medicine is an interesting term, and we coined it back in about 1992, using the idea of health because we want to be healthy, and medicine not because we want to be doing drugs, but in the spirit of the shaman. Health medicine, okay? And when we started the Health Medicine Forum, our intent was to study and define what that means. And we came up with 4 principles. One is that we should be doing things integratively so that we are looking at all forms of healing, whether it be Ayurveda or Chinese medicine or Native American or Western medicine or homeopathy or et cetera, et cetera. We should have an open mind because we need all the help we can get. We've got an epidemic of chronic diseases that won't quit. The medical profession is very powerful kind of medicine, but it's dangerous too because of the drugs and the surgeries and the technologies. And believe it or not, Monica, about 1 million people die every year because of something that happens in medicine that's true. Gary Null wrote a great book called Death by Medicine that explains that and breaks it down. He's got 250 references that are from the mainstream. So we have to do integrative medicine, but we also, as a second point, need to look at the whole person. I mean, why would we just look at the biochemistry and physiology of somebody when that's not all they are?
Right.
Look at body, mind, emotion, and spirit and their inseparable nature and how that works so that when somebody comes to us and they have a symptom, we're not just trying to fix some biochemical thing or some physical thing. We're looking at all the reasons for why life is like it is. And third, we should be looking at the whole thing. It's a holistic, person-centered thing. So we're looking at what people want. If somebody comes to me and they're not really comfortable with drugs and surgeries and technologies, if I'm an internist, then we look at what it is they want. They might want Chinese medicine or Native American medicine. So we try to look at it from their point of view. And then fourth, the last leg of health medicine is we try to do prevention. So it's about wellness and prevention, about nutrition and natural therapies.
Yeah.
And there's an order to all of this. We don't start out with the most aggressive things that are dangerous like we do today in mainstream medicine. We're looking at things that have a downside that can really be a problem because 1 million deaths and millions of hospitalizations because of that is really looking at a financial model, not a service model. So we have to do what we can to try and stay on focus and look at how we can keep people well. So we start with lifestyle first. That's your most powerful medicine anyway.
So true.
And if that doesn't work, then, get aggressive. Use an herb or some nutritional product or some supplement of some kind. If that doesn't work, then maybe we go on and use a pill, if we have to.
Yes.
And lastly, if it's not working still, you may wind up with a surgery or technology that has a big downside. But it should start with the simple things first that are natural and safe. And then we should and move on from that place. So that's how I look at people when they come to my office.
So how did we get here where we are with the mainstream medicine? Because I truly believe that the medical system started with, the best in heart for everyone.
Yeah, well, it still is. We still have doctors who want to do that, but they don't have any opportunities anymore. I knew back in the early 1990s that we were in for a problem because the health HMOs were coming into vogue and doctors were selling their practices to hospitals. And the next thing you know is doctors were becoming employees. And now we have people who don't know much about medicine telling us how we can practice because it has to be cost effective. Years ago, 25 years ago or 30 years or 40 years ago, we did what we wanted, what our heart told us to do, and we focused on that. We may have been fairly close-minded because doctors thought they were the cat's meow and the only thing that was a good way to be when you're trying to help people. But we've learned better than that now. And most young doctors who are in medical schools, and I've lectured both at University of California in San Francisco and Stanford Medical Center to their medical students and told them how I look at health and healing And they love it. And they're wondering, why don't we get this in our medical school?
Right.
Well, needless to say, I wasn't invited back to give those talks again, because I think what I did was I gave them a headache, because they knew that what I was saying was right, and that we can't be running our medical centers with the pharmaceutical money, because they don't just give you money. They give you money conditionally. You have to repay them in some way. So you may teach a course, or say everybody has to be on statins, like we're saying for cholesterol today, which is a bunch of hooey. There's so many examples like that, where drugs are the things that we use because we focus on that. So we got to come back down to earth and be thinking from our hearts about what we want. And a lot of that is gone as medicine's made a transition from a service to a business. And so now you look at your big organizations like Kaiser, where probably you get the best care that you can get, but it's not very good when you're talking about the kinds of things we are, or the kinds of medical groups that are, they've got hundreds and thousands of doctors in them. And what they're looking at the end of the month is the bottom line. How much money did we make? And are we in debt? Can we afford to buy the new MRI machine, or the new technology that does stem cells or whatever? I mean, the technology has gotten crazy.
Yes.
But we've lost the essence of healing. I mean, most doctors don't know the difference between curing and healing. We're basically there curing symptoms and doing nothing about the deeper meaning of illness in the context of our whole life story, which, of course, we should be doing at all times. I mean, people aren't just individual people. They've got families, and they live in cultures, and they live in countries, and they're all different. And it's not one size fits all that we should be doing, and that's what medicine has come to. So we have to start thinking for ourselves. We need to get away from the medical economic model,
Yes.
and use something that's back to giving and sharing and building community and helping people, because that's what we want to do, rather than just fixing them with the quick fix and getting them back on their feet and back to work. I mean, that's what Obamacare is about. That's what universal health care is about, for that matter. So the answer isn't just, should we have universal health care? Of course, everybody deserves health care, but why give them a health care that sucks? We should be giving them what you and I are talking about.
So you have founded an integrative medicine clinic.
Yes. I've been involved with that since about the year 2000. And we have different practitioners from different kinds of backgrounds, chiropractors and hypnotherapists and body workers and et cetera, et cetera. And we're also high tech. I mean, we do some things that are very interesting. We're working with light, with different colored lights, and doing research on it. I just completed a research study at the University of California in San Francisco with a grant from the National Institutes of Health for $8 million that looked at how you treat people who have pain in their feet, a neuropathy in their feet after chemotherapy, and did another research project with the VA on people who have diabetes, diabetic neuropathy. And, of course, the light does all kinds of things besides that. It activates stem cells, it reduces inflammation, yada, yada, yada. It does all kinds of things that most people don't know much about. But it's like the biggest breakthrough I've seen in Western medicine in 40 years, for sure.
That's great.
And I use that in my practice all the time, but I'm not silly enough to think that if I fix somebody's neuropathy, that's where it stops. That's where it starts.
Yes.
Because why did they get that? Why do they have diabetes? What have they done that has caused that? And I'm not pointing my finger at people either when that happens. I never judge them, because until I walk in their shoes, I can't.
Yeah.
What I can do is try to listen to them and care about them, have them write their autobiography if they will, do the healing if they want, and then see if we can find ways to understand more about, why'd you get the diabetes? Why'd you have the heart attack? Why do you have hypertension? Why do you have an ulcer or a backache or a headache? Even though for most of those things, it's easy to fix the symptoms. It's really easy. We fixed a diabetic with neuropathy in 10 minutes.
Yes.
By shining a light on their foot. It's not just ordinary light, I can tell you that.
So what led you to this research? Tell us more about this.
Well, when I was in medical school, I wanted to be a research scientist, because I went to Duke, and Duke was a school that really believed in research. So I fell into that mode, and I was all set when I was in my internship, University of Pittsburgh, ready to do a straight medicine internship, and then to, after that, go back to the National Institutes of Health and become a scientist. And as life unfolded, I was there for about 2 weeks, and my first wife at the time said, I'm going back to California with our son. Are you coming with me? I got to finish this program here. And she said, well, that's what I'm doing. It's up to you. And so I went up to the chief of medicine, who was also at that time the chairman of the American Board of Internal Medicine. So you had to have his signature on your boards or you could not become an internist. And I said, Dr. So-and-so, he's no longer alive, but I won't mention his name. And I said, I've got this problem. My wife wants to go back to California and with our son. And so I would really appreciate it if you could help me get an internship on the, near San Francisco. And he looked at me and he said, Saputo, you've got some talent, but I'll promise you one thing. If you leave my program, I'll see to it that you never pass your boards. And I said, well, thank you very much, doctor. I'm leaving. No thanks to you. And I wound up in the only place I could get was at Highland Hospital in Oakland, which is a county hospital. I did a rotating internship, and you can kiss your future goodbye when it comes to research, but I learned how to be a doctor. I delivered 125 babies. I did operations in the surgical rotations, and I loved what I did, and it was forget the research now. And so I finished my training there, learned a lot, became a Western doctor who I think really knew things pretty well, but it wasn't enough. And it took me a few years to remember that I was just fixing people's symptoms. And that's not what healing is about. I mean, it's a great gift to fix their diabetic neuropathy or to help them with their congestive heart failure or save their life from doing a surgery.
Sure.
But you got to look deeper than that if you're a healer. A big responsibility.
Yes. And you listen to your heart.
That's first.
Wonderful. We'll take a short break and be right back.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know, I tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millicers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids.
So I would like to share with everyone Dr. Saputo's website, drsaputo.com, where it's a huge resource of all kind of symptoms and problems, physical problems that we have. And you can ask questions to Dr. Saputo, and there are health sessions with Len Saputo that you can make an appointment, and it's not for profit, and I would really, really encourage you to take a look at it. you'll find a lot of material and will be able to understand a lot of issues going with you. Thanks so much, Dr. Len.
You're welcome. It's really a pleasure to be able to offer a public service. This I probably spend $30,000 a year to keep it up. There's no ad. There's no source of income on it. It's purely a public service. It's got 2,600 audios and videos that I made with my wife, Vicki, on a wide range of topics, and they're all organized into different kinds of health assessments. So maybe diabetes, hypertension, heart attacks, strokes, allergies, whatever you can think of. It takes about 2 minutes to fill, or 3 minutes to fill out the assessment. It's yes, no, and multiple choice. And then what instantly come back are audios and videos that I've handpicked that I think will help explain what you need to know by the way you fill out that assessment. So people should take advantage of that. It's it's a gift.
And can they ask questions as well?
Yes, they can ask questions. My email is there. It's Dr. Saputo, Dr. Len at drsaputo.com. And I answer every single one of them.
Wow.
On some of the videos, we've had as many as 600,000 views. And I get questions from all over the world every day on that and many other different kinds of issues. So I'm busy providing that service.
You are more than busy and still doing so much. That's so awesome.
Well, it's a passion. It's something, it's fun to give. I look at it as a greedy thing because I get so much back from it.
It's your calling.
It's my calling for sure.
That's great. Tell us about your new book.
Okay.
Return to Healing.
It's called A Return to Healing. It's not out yet, but there's an the first edition of it came out in 2009 that talks about radical healthcare reform in the future of medicine. And in it, we look at the kinds of things that are challenges in healthcare and what we have to do to change that. So it's not just about picking things apart. It's about trying to identify the problems that we have in a financial model of medicine, which we have today. So I talk about things like my story and my medical training, how scientific is scientific medicine, how well is America's healthcare system working, what's the karma of big pharma, and then providing solutions to what do we need to be able to change the system so it works and so we can provide a service again rather than just have a model that makes money. Because quite frankly, I don't think that the model we have today is recoverable. I think it needs to be started over again. I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater because let's face it, we do fantastic things in healthcare. We know all the genes now of the body. We can treat with technology that would blow anybody's mind. We're doing stem cell therapies. You'd never want to get rid of that, but that's not the sort of thing that everyday people need. We need to work on not getting sick and having values in life and meaningful purpose in what we do. Those are the real things that we should be addressing, and that doesn't take a doctor. That takes somebody with common sense. But our training isn't that way. I mean, we've got a pill for everything. You go to the doctor and you don't get 1 or 2 or 3 prescriptions, you feel like you didn't get your money's worth. And, of course, that's the last thing I'm thinking about. If I write 5 prescriptions a week, it's a big week for me. And I'm working full time, 5 months a week. So it's we need to really go back and look at what we're doing. So the book is really a good way to understand how healthcare works, what went wrong with it, what we can do about it, and how we have to evolve ourselves in a personal way to be able to have a system like this work. Because until we fix the culture, we can't fix the system.
That's so true.
So we have a fatal fundamentalism across business, law, medicine, science, politics, sports, and we're depraved. We've de-evolved in so many ways that we're all out for ourselves. We live in this narcissistic world about trying to accumulate wealth and power that doesn't take us anyplace. I mean, what's your epitaph going to say when you finish your life and you look back at what you've done? I mean, people are in a bad state if they've lived their life the way that we live it today, where you've made a lot of money and you've got power and respect from the outside. What have you given of yourself? What have you done to make the world a better place?
Mm.
How do you feel good about how you spent your time? If you can have an epitaph that says, I lived my life, my life of service, I helped people to feel better, I built community, and I sacrificed with pleasure. Now you've got an epitaph that's meaningful. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of thing we should be aiming for. But we aren't taught that. We go to school and we compete.
Yes.
Then what would you expect when you're watching television? There's all this violence on it. Mm-hmm. And look at all the violence and the disparities, the racial disparities. I mean, that's a terrible thing. That should never be that way. Mm-hmm. And yet it's still that way. I mean, we're still living 200 years ago, with the poor black people. I mean, it's absolutely atrocious that there's anything like that happening. Mm-hmm. And it's still that way. So our job is to be the best we can be, to live a life of service, to teach by example, mm-hmm. to not judge anybody because we don't walk in their shoes, and to be respectful of how things are, and make a small change because that's all we can, because the buck stops with each individual person.
Right.
And unless we take that responsibility, nothing will change. It's not about revolution. Revolution means you revolve around the same things and you get angry every few years and you chop off somebody's head, okay, and then you start again. What we need is evolution.
Right.
We evolve to a higher level of consciousness where we're trying to support one another and teach people about giving and sharing and loving and building community. If we can do that, now we've done something. You'll have an epitaph that's beautiful, and you'll have a satisfaction that you've done the best you could do to make the world a little bit better.
That's so natural. Mm-hmm. Evolution is natural.
Yes.
But somehow we moved away from it, and I think it's time now to come back to it.
Well, it's happening. I feel it. The difference between now and 25 years ago when I started a lot of this mm-hmm. is immense. There's a receptivity now to the kinds of thinking that I have, that people are asking me now to speak or be on a radio show or to do a TV thing or mm-hmm. whatever. And it feels good to know that the world is ready to make some changes and that people are willing to take a look at how they're participating in society mm-hmm. to make the world a little bit better. When I look at the political races that we're having now, it just turns my stomach inside out. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. And we have all these wars going on where we're killing innocent people. And why? So we can sell arms to both sides mm-hmm. and somebody's making a lot of money. We're only here for about 1/10 of a second when you think of a 15 billion year history of the world, of the universe. What are we doing? We do that for 100 years and think that's for all time going to be the kind of thing to do? That's stupid. It's not just silly, it's stupid. So we need to get off our backsides and start thinking for ourselves and training our children so that they understand that and try to teach them about community.
Yes.
And how to do the golden rule. Live a life of service. Help somebody. That's where the real values in life are. And until we get to that place, it's going to be more of the same. And I'll be writing books like A Return to Healing, mm-hmm. developing a website like drsaputo.com, hoping that somebody will get it.
We are so grateful, Dr. Saputo, and it's a treasure. Your website is a real treasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, Vicki and I worked hard on that. We put 4 years of work into it. And to make 2,600 audios and videos was no small task.
Yes. And we are very grateful. And I am really hoping that all of us listening will definitely take advantage of this and will connect with you.
That would be great.
Any last message as you talk about parents teaching their children? Any last message for us parents?
Well, it's the golden rule, Do unto others as you'd like done unto yourself. Mm-hmm. And really live your life that way. It's about giving and sharing and loving. It's not about taking. Love is for giving unconditionally, which means I give you my love. You do what you want with it. Mm-hmm. And that's your business. I don't have any expectation of a return. Be a gracious receiver.
Yes.
so that you appreciate what you're getting and remember that love is not for taking. And if we live by that golden rule, the whole world would be great, you know? So that's my last message.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monica. It's been a pleasure to chat with you.
It's our honor. Namaste, and we will have you back soon.
Namaste.
Namaste, everyone, and have a blissful week. See you again next Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific.
I wonder how many people.